And what's the definition of insanity, by the way? To do what you've always done and expect different results. She said, I'm crying tears of joy because you have just solved the puzzle. This explains the diabetic, not epidemic we're seeing, pandemic. There's hardly a home in the Western countries that doesn't have a diabetic in it. Sugar doesn't get off the hook. Sugar certainly gets the blood sugar rises and dumps. But most people don't realise that the hybridised wheat is one of the biggest contributing factors to this diabetic pandemic that we're seeing. Now, if you'd like to check this out a little bit more, in the book Wheat Belly by Dr. William Davis, he explains it very well and in detail. I mentioned a book called Serial Killer by Alan Watson. And remember what I said that he told in the book? 93% of American children have cereal for breakfast. 30% of the cereals are sugar. What's the other percentage? In the majority of cases, it is wheat. That's a toxic cocktail for diabetes. A toxic cocktail for the poor pancreas. 1 in 3 American children by the age of 3 are overweight or obese. Can you see why? In the book Wheat Belly, Dr. William Davis, he shows that because it gets the blood sugar level up so high, so fast, it demands that that be dealt with very quickly, and the body stores it in a form of visceral fat, mostly on the internal organs, causing the belly to protrude out, but also on the belly. In fact, in his book, just about every page is the term wheat belly. Now, this doctor has decades of clinical practice up his sleeve, and that's why he wrote his book, because he saw again and again and again. And it's often the missing link in conquering diabetes and also conquering weight. So, food. What is the best food for a diabetic? Vegetables. Vegetables are high in fibre. Vegetables are high in minerals, your healers, and vegetables are low in sugars. That's very important for the diabetic. I met a man a year ago who told me that he had diabetes. He went to a health retreat and they said, you can conquer your diabetes by eating legumes. He said, so I did. He said, every meal I have lentils or chickpeas or lima beans or black-eyed beans. And so I met him a year ago, and I think he started that 5 years ago. He has no diabetes now. So the best protein is your legumes. Just remember to soak them, just remember to rinse them well, just remember to 3/4 cook them, rinse them well, and then you can put them in their sauce, and they can have another 1 hour in their sauce. Another excellent form of protein is nuts. Nuts are so delicious, there's only one problem, there is a tendency to overdo it. So try and have 8 to 10 nuts per meal. The only nut I don't advise is actually not a nut, it's a legume, and that is the peanut, because they are commonly infected with mould. And seeds, excellent form of protein. So there's your sunflower, your pumpkin seeds, very easy to include that in a lunchbox. Also your ground flaxseed and your chia seeds. And your grains, for your grains, they are also a form of protein. The best grains are millet and oats. If someone is celiac, they're best to keep away from the oats. And if you like oats, just don't have them every day. Maybe have them twice a week. Quinoa, another excellent grain, and buckwheat. And for your breads, ideally you would go for your Enkhorn if you can get it. Your Enkhorn original wheat, spelt, and kamut. It is gluten that makes bread nice and elastic, but it is the gluten structure that has been changed and complicated really in the hybridized wheat. So these ones have a simple, less complex protein structure. And it's not, the gluten actually doesn't develop until the water goes on the protein, and that's when the gluten strands start coming out. So that's the best food, and I have seen many people conquer their diabetes by targeting this. The last one is your fats. And the best fats are your nuts, your seeds, your avocados. And the two best fats to be eaten freely, and when I say freely, and I don't know anyone that can drink a cup of oil, so when I say freely, I'm really referring to the oils, the pure oils. So that's your coconut. They are concentrated, and so they should not be overdone. But, you know, a teaspoon or two at a meal, that's a nice amount. So there are your oils. So they're your best fats. Now that's the food program that will help to conquer diabetes. So number 2, very important to keep well hydrated. So hydration. Your pancreas cannot create those hormones unless you supply the water. Most of our hormones are largely created with water. So that's 8 glasses a day, at least, more if you perspire a lot. And with those glasses, the little bit of Celtic salt. Number 3, exercise. Exercise has a dramatic effect on diabetes. What exercise does, that it increases the blood to the cell. And because the 8-step pathway and the 20-step pathway are both speeding up, the cell's actually needing more fuel, so it develops extra insulin receptor sites. So eating this food, drinking enough water and implementing an exercise program will turn diabetes around. It can turn insulin resistance around in a matter of about a week. That's quite exciting, isn't it? The human body's been designed to heal itself, and once it's given the right conditions, it responds very, very quickly. The best exercise, and I've mentioned this a few times, is high intensity interval training. It's that high intensity that produces a dramatic change in the way the cell works. Basically, you're putting huge demands on the body, so it's screaming out for more glucose, screaming out for more insulin, rather than a sedentary person eating huge amounts of carbohydrates where the cell basically says, I'm sick of the sight of you, I don't want to see you anymore, insulin resistance. And that can be turned around very, very quickly from I'm sick of the sight of you to I need more. But not only that, when you do this high intensity exercise, it increases the circulation of the blood to the pancreas, and when the circulation of the blood is increased to the pancreas revives. One young man said, the doctor said my pancreas is dead. I said, is it gangrene? What's dead? I said, if there's blood going through that pancreas, it is alive. His name's Dan. He was 20 when he came to us, but at 15 he had a strong course of antibiotics which had damaged his pancreas. It had damaged the beta cells in his pancreas that produce insulin. And he was told his pancreas was dead. He came to us and he had this diet. Now, fruits are okay for a diabetic as long as they're low GI. But Dan, he said to me, nope, until I conquer this, I'm not going to eat any fruit. He looked at the grapes on the table and he said, nope, grapes are actually very high glycemic index. Now, the first week, he was with us for 4 weeks. He did 2 weeks of program, 2 weeks in the garden. He didn't tell me this till later. But in the middle of the night, if he had a drop in his blood glucose levels, he would take a lolly, or you call it a candy. That would get his blood glucose levels up very quick, very fast. It always gave him a headache. Second week, he